We don't have storyboards. It's all in my head.
Oh, you don't? You really?
It's all in my head.
You gotta be kidding
So
me.
I'm like editing live in my head, and I'm like,
how are people working with you like that?
It's probably not easy.
What is up, guys? Just a quick intro. If you are short on time, use the timestamps to go to the questions and topics you are most interested in. They are in the description and the pinned tweet for mobile users. There are also podcast options. The links are also in the description and the pinned tweet. Big thank you to R Street Fighter and my supporters for getting me out to EVO. Thank you so much. And a very special thank you to Maximilian. He kindly offered to do a collaboration with me, and this seemed like the easiest and most appropriate thing to do immediately. And he doesn't need me. He doesn't need this exposure, but he spent a good 2 hours with me. Great guy, just so down to earth. We're both lifelong Capcom fanboys, so we talk very candidly about fighting games, Street Fighter and Marvel, and also I get to talk to him a little bit about content creation and some of the things that he does. Didn't even scratch the surface, guys. Didn't even scratch the surface with a guy like Maximilian, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. Please remember it was recorded on Thursday night before EVO. To give you context, I was using new equipment. I managed to upgrade thanks to my patrons and my Twitch subs, so that hopefully it looks and sounds okay, but it's possible there are some minor issues. We will see. I'm about to watch it myself and edit it. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's BornFree here via our Street Fighter. Thank you very much for the sponsorship. And I'm here with content creator. What else do you do? You do everything.
Internet personality. That sounds so bad.
IP.
We can make it even worse and call me an influencer. That's like.
I want to talk to you about that though.
Oh, okay.
Because you do have a lot of influence.
I do, and I hate that.
I know, right? Because you just want to say what you. I bet you just want to say what you want to say, and then I bet at the back of your mind.
And I do, and it gets me in trouble. Like that's happened a few times. But yeah.
That's kind of what. Well, I'll start with that question then. Like, how much does that play on your mind? Like, when you're trying to say what you want to say, do you feel like, oh God, I'm about to screw things up for this company or these people? Or...
I don't even think it's that, because I think what I'm going to say about something is what everyone's already thinking. But like a lot of people have already sort of pulled. Like for example, when Mortal Kombat came out with its like sort of practice of unlocking things in the first week, it was really rough for a lot of people, and I was like, this is not cool. And even though the WB guys and NetherRealm have been previously like really cool to me, and the developers I've known in studio and people that have actually worked there, I'm like, this needs to be fixed. And luckily, like, people being vocal about things gets stuff to happen, and that was fixed within like a week and a half. So I think it's kind of good because it's constructive. Like, I'm not just gonna be like, this sucks I just hate it. Like, it's usually not. I try to keep that out as much as possible, because as much as I like might not like something, I usually am like, you know what, this isn't for me, but I can see why people like it. And that's usually like if it's something that I think like, I don't know if this is really for me anymore, because I can't just go like, this terrible, this thing is awful, like go fill the terrible business bureau things. I'm like, I'm not going to tell people how to spend their money and stuff. It's like, it's a situation where I know a lot of people are like value my opinion, and I don't want to make other people that might like that feel like, oh God, suddenly what I like sucks. Like,
right,
you got to start considering that when. So there's more than 10,000 people watching, then 100,000, and then 200,000. It's like, oh God, like now I'm going to get some guy coming up to me like, why don't you like E-Honda? What the hell's going on? So,
why don't you like E-Honda?
I just think of okay.
I was kind of joking, but like if you want to go for it, go for it.
I'm going to throw that in. He's the character that should have gotten redesigned the most. Like, he's the guy that should have gone through something. Like, and my initial idea was, like, make him a Yakuza guy. He, like, shed all the pounds.
Oh, really?
And had to go through some life transition, and then got caught up in the Yakuza, and he's wearing, like, straight, like, Sega Yakuza outfit, but it's E-Honda.
Right,
like, that'd be neat. He has a little bit of splash of this stuff, but it's with a knife now.
So he kind of has the birdie, like, transformation.
Maybe.
Like the other way around.
In literally a different direction. I mean, I thought that would have been interesting, but he's just E-Honda.
He's just E Honda, right.
We are totally sidetracked like crazy.
No, we're not at all. This is all stuff that I want to talk about anyway. But like, I mean, I got sent here by our Street Fighter, but I can talk about whatever I want. I got that permission from people, which is great. But I may as well just continue talking about that leak,
sure,
because you actually got the opportunity to do a reaction video before you even got here.
Yeah, it was. It literally. So the Capcom decided to throw everything up like the day before now.
Well, they leaned into it.
They're like, okay, well, it's out, so might as well just go full bore, and they did, which was smart. But it allowed everyone to sort of digest like what they were doing, and it was pretty much par for course in terms of what the update was offering.
Yeah, I watched your video, and obviously I saw the reveals. I always felt like this reveal was going to tell us more about where they're at with 5 and potentially are we at the end of the cycle? Yeah. Is this the last season? What does this tell us about? Is there a new game coming? Because like, if you had a big mechanics update, right? You'd feel like
they an arcade edition type thing, like an actual.
Yeah, like you'd feel like they were invested in trying to bring in new people. But my question to you, I guess, is: do you think there's anything that, and not to be mean to them, but like, do you think there's anything they can do with this game to bring new people in anymore?
That's actually a really good question, because long story short, I think they could bring back some Street Fighter fans, like actual fans, like Street Fighter 4,
fans?
Like people that enjoy Street Fighter, because and Street Fighter 5 made me realize this, that a lot of people included, I think, after the sort of like turmoil that happened with 5 and getting it to a state that it's good, there are way more people that are fans of the brand of Street Fighter than they are of direct games sometimes. Whether or not they like Street Fighter 5 or like Street Fighter 4. People just like Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li and characters of Bison and, overcoming obstacles and becoming better. Like, its themes and its branding, I think, hold a higher prowess than, like, Street Fighter 5 as a game. Yeah. So whether or not you dislike or like Street Fighter 5, does that mean you hate Street Fighter? Probably not. You probably still like Street Fighter just fine. Yeah. It's just that you're not playing 5. So I think for people like that, there's a chance that you might be able to pull them back in, which is kind of me. But that's a risky boat, because they've sort of just been trying to play catch up this whole time, because like 2 years after the game came out, there's Arcade Edition. Here's that arcade mode we promised. It's like... Yeah. Cool. I guess. So I don't know. It's like I'm in a difficult boat where I feel I'm constantly like I want to enjoy the game more. G was the one character to sort of bring me back and to get me to play the game more since like 2016.
Really well designed character. I mean, like in terms of like excitement and just like something, a spectacle, a thing to watch,
and then being weird and captivating, and what an oddball sort of character.
And also that connection to Q, and like we'll probably never know. I would love it if they just never.
Just as mysterious as Q is, and I think that was a very good call. Like, but he was. I feel that G is similar to Jury in 4, where it's just like lightning in a bottle. How are you gonna? Is Lucia going to captivate that? It's hard to say, but it doesn't seem like it immediately from anyone that they showed right now. But it's just neat to see that all the World Warriors are back. This game is literally Final Fight Revenge. Like, I don't know if you've ever played that game. It's an all Final Fight fighting game.
I've not. I did not know that existed. I know it's the 30th anniversry of Final Fight, so I was expecting something Final Fight, but it looks like they're just doing it via Street Fighter.
Right now, I'm about to like make a three image meme of like, Street Fighter 5. What I expected, a bunch of Street Fighter characters. What I got, literally Final Fight Revenge, and it's just. Suddenly, a character's going to jump in a car and start shooting me. Like, there's it's like really goofy, really crazy Capcom fighting game that only released in Japan, but it feels that way. It's like this roster is just all Final Fight characters, and for me, it's like I was hoping they were going to do like, here's a Rival Schools character,
right?
Like, because that feels like that they're already in the backgrounds of some stages. It feels like something that can so easily cross over,
right?
And we haven't heard anything of Rival Schools in so long, or Project Justice, so. For me, wanting to expect something like a kick in the butt, that'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. That announcement was so expected. It was like exactly what everyone was kind of like. I had no idea E Honda was going to be in it, but he was the final World Warrior, so I just mentioned it before the video was even out. It's probably going to be E Honda, and he's going to 100 hand slap you, and he's like literally doing the exact same thing E Honda always does. So, I mean, I just want fans to be happy, and that's the thing with like the Capcom announcements since 2012. It's just that I just want to be like, see other people happy about Capcom fighting games, like super thrilled, as well as myself, because it's been kind of a rough almost 8 years now that it's been like something really good like happen. And Ultra Street Fighter 4 I feel like was the last thing, because USF 4 was generally well received.
Well, Street Fighter. So the thing about Street Fighter 4, as far as I'm concerned, right, there were two things in my opinion that made it a big deal. One was basically they hadn't made a fighting game for a long time, and then suddenly online was viable, right? So you could play people. Yeah. And that's what made Street Fighter 2 so much fun, right? It was because you could play people at the arcade. Then the arcades disappeared. Then it was kind of like, don't really want to play this fighting game on my own. So there was the online capability, and then it was just basically like, hey guys, it's Street Fighter 2. Pretty much. Like, you'll eventually...
And it was really teased as that, yeah.
Yeah, you'll eventually figure out some other stuff, but if you can play Street Fighter 2, you can play this game.
Yeah.
So it had that hook. And then Street Fighter 5 came out, and I was missing the hook. I was going to play it because I love Street Fighter, but I was missing that bigger hook for other people. Like,
you were there at that E3 in 2015.
I was,
when they first showed it.
Yeah.
I remember I had a conversation with a friend that worked at Capcom, doesn't work there anymore, and he was like adamant, like, so what do you think about it? And I'm like, I think graphically it looks good, but from 10 feet away it's Street Fighter 4. And that's in like a layman's term. Like, we all know this game is obviously not SF4, but if you step 10 feet back and get behind the eyes of somebody that was a super casual that bought Street Fighter 4, do you see a reason to go into 5? Does it look that much different? Because it was the same presentation pretty much, like ink effect, bright colors, super contrasty, and then once you start like getting a little bit further, the line between how much different is this game visually from 4, it starts to skew a little bit to people that don't really know. So unless you're like a Street Fighter 4, there was the appeal like, oh, it's a Street Fighter game, I gotta buy it. But now it's like, do you have to buy this one? Like, it's got way less characters, and it kind of looks the same in many ways, like in terms of character design and stuff like that. That was why I was always harking that Ryu should have been bearded Ryu the whole time. Like, he should have been redesigned. Like, there should have been an overhaul. That's why it was so refreshing to see some characters look different. Like, Ken looking different was, like, when he was first shown at Comic-Con when I was there, the trailer made it seem like he wasn't very Shoto-like. And then we literally walk out to the floor, play him 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, he's just a Shoto. Great. Like, okay, but he can run, that's neat. So, I don't know, I feel that was their big challenge, like giving people a good reason to invest outside of, like, all the weird launch issues. I don't know. I want them to do something different visually, and it either goes in one extreme where it's like hyper realistic Devil May Cry 5 in the future, or complete opposite direction, super hyper anime Street Fighter Alpha style.
Oh,
and one or the other, and do not do like this in between, like cartoony sort of like stereotyped Street Fighter stuff that has been since Street Fighter 2. And the only game that really broke that was kind of 3, because it was so weird and goofy, and that ended up doing really poorly for the game. So I don't know. It's like when we first saw it, it was when we were first playing at that E3, it was like, yeah, where's the hook? Like, the V trigger just gives me access to things I feel like I should normally have, and what the heck is? So I was like, I had a lot of fun with it in the betas, especially those first couple betas. But then it was like every next beta that came out, there was less and less and less the characters could do, and it's like, oh, they're playing it safe because of esports. Like, I get it.
But I guess that's my question, right? Because like someone like you, maybe someone like Aris, I don't know, you guys sort of like you're bigger than esports. You're bigger than the FGC, let's say, right? Because I sometimes think
agree to disagree.
I mean, this is kind of what I want to ask you, is like, how big is the FGC really? Because sometimes it feels like sometimes it feels quite small, sometimes it feels like an echo chamber, sometimes it feels like 5% of the narrative is being controlled, 100% of the narrative is being controlled by 5%. And, it's like, on the one hand, you've got Mortal Kombat 11, which is apparently the best-selling video game, not just fighting game, video game in the US of 2019. And then you've got the FGC, which is, apart from EVO, generally struggling. Apart from a few tournaments, is generally kind of struggling. You know, as let's say an industry. I think of it more as a community still than an industry.
Yeah.
And when you think about Mortal Kombat and like how much it sold, you think, well, fighting games are viable. People are going to buy them. Is the FGC viable? Like, are people just not willing to go past a certain point?
I think it is, and it's to sort of tie it into like this many people are buying it, this many people are like competing, and to me, like, the most important aspect of it all, between someone getting and buying like the millions of copies that Mortal Kombat potentially sold, like MKX sold like 10 million, so they have a nice return value going into their next game, isn't especially that, oh no, there's only like 400 people in our tournament, there's only 1,000 people in our tournament, however many there might be for whatever said game, because even MKX had less people than MK11 has this year.
Yeah.
And I think MKX probably will end up going at being the best selling Mortal Kombat. I'd be very interested if 11 catches up to it, but we'll see what happens. Either way, I think it is viable, because it's not as much about how many people are entering the tournament. It's about how many people are watching. It's about how many people are buying the game because of it. It's, to me, and I've always described this, like, EVO isn't especially about the two dudes that are on stage about to duke it out for grand finals and $10,000 to $30,000. It's about the shit ton of people that are watching in the audience and the countless amount of people that are watching from home. If that wasn't there, nobody would care.
Right.
So the audience and the viewership aspect of it is so important that it should always be a priority. And Mortal Kombat, did a great job with 11 because it's pretty. It fixes. It literally went after the things graphically that were problems in X. So that's why that is. But I mean, in general, I will agree with you. Like, the hype in comparison to MKX to 11 is definitely different. There was a lot more hype and excitement for MKX, and just in terms of like Twitch viewership and other channels getting, establishing their basis as like fighting game channels, and not only myself getting incredible numbers because it's a Mortal Kombat game and that's what happens. MK11 has sort of fallen into the Injustice 2 department, where it was like everyone thought it was really cool for about a month, and then that was about it. Which is about par for course for most fighting games outside of Smash Brothers, because Smash is obviously its own thing, So, but I still think it's important, because that value of keeping that retention of people buying characters, buying costumes, and coming back, I think that's what kept Street Fighter. That's the only reason Street Fighter 5 is still going.
Right.
Or else they would have just been like, well, that didn't work. They actually put the effort in to fix it. And people were buying the 18 Chun-Li costumes and 30 Ryu costumes that were available. People were actually buying them, so that's what kept it afloat.
Yeah, I mean, there must be data on it. Either that, I have two theories. One, there's data on it, or Akiman, who is the guy who invented Chun-Li and seems to draw up all these concepts. Either people are buying them, or he's just churning them out, and they're just making them.
Let's keep going.
Yeah,
I think they, for as much digital content and the way they distributed for it to be the way it is, they have to be selling. It has to have been like successful.
Yeah,
and I definitely would say it had an influence on Marvel Infinite releasing the way it did with as little as it had, and then being like, oh, we can just do that again, and no one fell for it. No, everyone caught that bullshit like day one. They're like, where's the X-Men? So they tried. It was like they saw an opportunity. They're like, oh, they're fighting game fans. They'll buy anything. So yeah, they did. And that's the kind of situation that we're in right now. Is that like waiting for them to do some goodwill?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, because when I have this conversation all the time about, like, if you're sitting in the boardroom at Capcom, right, and you've been there for 30 years, and you've sort of been through the fighting games, the arcade era, and some of you believe that maybe Third Strike is the greatest fighting game ever made, and you'll never be able to beat it, and you're sitting there, and you turn around to the Monster Hunter guy, and you go, how's it going? And he goes, yeah, it's going great. Okay, good. And, Resident Evil, brilliant. We're doing so well right now. And
everything, but yeah.
Yeah, and then you get to Street Fighter, and it's like, yeah, not so good, actually.
And it's not even just Street Fighter. It's like everything out of the fighting game division has been a problem.
Right. Obviously, with Marvel, you've been a huge fan of Marvel. That must have been I mean, I'm laughing, nervous laughter, right? Because that must have hit you right here. Because if that happened to me with Street Fighter, I don't know what I would do. Because I am what you were talking about earlier. I am that Street Fighter franchise fan, right? I used to collect. You know, I got collectibles. You know, it's just always been in my life.
Sure.
The game, the characters, the story, sort of the stories, some of the stories, but more like the stories that are created via the relationships and the smaller,
small narratives,
the small narratives, yeah. And if I was that much of a fan as you are of Marvel, I don't know what I would be feeling right now.
The deep resentment that they gave up and hope for the future, but an impossible hope is what it is, and that's what a lot of Marvel fans are echoing. And it's weird is that there is this obvious like lingering, not as much negativity or stigma, but I'd say sadness. There's like a lingering sadness amongst like the Capcom fighting game community of just like, can we be super fucking excited about something? Can there just be something that just gets us like, whoa, yeah, like just gets everyone super jazzed and hyping. I think the last time we really experienced that was like, Sagat being shown off for the first time and G being shown off, and that was really cool.
That was a really good release.
That was really cool. But Kage was like, why does he look weird? And then he came out and he's like, why does he play weird? And so it's been like a very much rocky.
I actually will never forget because I think I was at Capcom Cup. They released it early, obviously. I was sitting in front row with Akiki, who's Sako's wife, and she was showing me pictures of this character, and I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
And Gachkin's right there. He's like 3 foot away from us playing grand finals or something, or like getting close.
Leaked.
And we're all just like looking at our phones going, what is going on? Mm. Like, that was a really unfortunate one, because that wasn't even just a leak. That was like, people were playing it.
Yeah.
You know,
it was like available too early, and that seems to be the ongoing thing, is that their whole like announcement available now has just been a nightmare. Like that has caused so many problems over the past few announcements that I don't know if that's worth it. Just be like, it's available in 5 days.
Yeah, it's like we'll go home and then we'll send it to Steam.
Yeah, like just go home, chill out for a couple of days, and then play some more Street Fighter. Cool, like. The Evo hype isn't going to die just because you waited like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So, that seems to be backfiring a little bit. I mean, maybe they'll fix it. I don't know. Just to point out, like, we're just having a conversation. We're not dunking on Capcom. We do both. I know from watching your videos, and people who watch me know that I just want to see Capcom have a good day.
Oh, me too.
In the sun.
That's exactly what we want.
You know, like but you also can't just accept mediocrity. You can't just go, yeah, this is brilliant, and pretend. You have to,
especially with the rest of the company doing as good as they are.
Yeah,
like doing the best that they have, like ever right now. Like in terms of profits and profit margins and sales, they're literally doing better than they ever have been. So it's like, why is the thing that is literally some of the most popular brands in video game history, which is Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom, doing poorly? Like, what the hell is going on?
One of the smartest things they did, actually, I thought, I mean, it was just an easy win, was Ultra Street Fighter 2 on the Switch.
Yeah.
And then they just threw in Violent Ken and Evil Ryu.
Stupid smart. Like, such a dumb thing that should not have sold as good as it did. And it sold like 1 million units.
Oh, I would buy that just for Violent Ken.
And I can tell you that was made in 6 months. Like, it was made in less than 6 months. Yeah. And I bought it too. And I'm like, this is stupid fun. Like, these characters are ridiculous and broken. Is this the new competitive standard? No, and I don't care.
Well, on that's what does concern me a little bit, is some of the fun has been lost, maybe in the development process or something.
Is it because it's become more esports?
Well, that's the question, right?
I think so. I think.
Okay,
absolutely.
Well, there we go. I mean,
absolutely.
You know where I'm going with this. Like, I'm trying to figure out.
Things are focused too heavily on being like balanced, and that is futile because things are always going to be unbalanced. That's just the way fighting games work.
Yeah.
So even though when the game came out, we were playing those betas, right? Like when SF5 was first out, 2015 to 2016.
Which we all. By the way, I just want to say one thing about that. That's supposed to be a beta, and it's supposed to change. And like, I remember battle settings. I remember thinking it was the dumbest thing I'd ever come across, and it didn't change. I was like,
the stuff that was like we were mostly paying attention to the characters and stuff like that. But in terms of like the matchmaking and the online,
the UX is
none of that stuff really changed. But like the characters changed a whole bunch. Like we're just gonna start chopping little things.
Yeah, the characters did change a lot.
And that was when I knew. That was when I was like, oh, so Street Fighter 4. That like this whole Capcom Cup, this whole initiative was definitely working, and they want to be careful. They want to be like, well, we just don't want it to be entirely, Elena healing all the time, kind of like how USF4 ended up being. They don't want it to just only be Sagat, dominating the hell like it was at the beginning of Vanilla. However, there has never been a fighting game that is launched in its vanilla version that is super balanced.
Right.
And to be frank, like launch Street Fighter 5. Cammy was an absolute like nightmare, and Mika had the most dirtiest, insane like mix-ups that were unreactable and that were discovered in the beta. So it's like a fool's errand. Like, why not just design it to be stupid fun? Like, just design it to like have as much fun as possible. And that was the thing that got me, was that the V triggers felt safe, the V skills felt super safe. It's just like we're gonna take a move that they've had forever, and we're gonna now make that a mechanic. And it's like, come on, man. So there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed about Street Fighter V, and I really enjoyed, I really had fun with the betas, because it was discovering stuff and figuring stuff out and learning what the hell Nash can do with these mix-ups and everything like that. And until I'd say like Akuma, which I think is still the most fun Shoto in the game, in G, it was kind of like, okay. Like Blanca was very interesting because he was a lot different. But I'm a Shoto guy, and Street Fighter V hates Shotos. Like it tends to like, and they took that to heart. Like people don't like one frame links, and people don't like Shotos.
Yeah.
But that neither is really true, because it was just a vocal minority of people that complained that I'm not good at Street Fighter because I can't do one frame links. Well, that's not true.
It's these little things that become memes.
It's a little thing that become memes, and they actually took them seriously, and they went into Street Fighter V tackling those. And then suddenly, like, everyone's flipping out that Kage's in the game, but he looks ridiculous. But, like, people are excited that there's another Shoto.
Right.
Because almost like Shotos kind of make Street
Fighter. And evil characters as well. Evil Shotos especially.
Like Onis and Evil Ryus. Like, those are my two favorite characters in Street Fighter 4, Oni and Evil Ryu, because they break the Shoto archetype so much. Right. And they're so, like, varied and weird and different and have multiple combo paths and approach options that it makes them, like, these are weird. Like, I like them. It's like Gouken in a way. Like, Gouken's an awkward Shoto, but he's a Shoto.
Oh, I miss Gouken so much.
Yeah, it was weird. And those characters grabbed because of gameplay, Like, they looked cool, sort of. Like, and Oni was very weird when he came out, and I was like, oh, what the hell is that? But he sold me when I was playing him. It's crazy, like, back HP or back MP hit confirms and stuff. I'm like, this is fun. Like, this is stupid fun. So, and even, like, SF4, I wasn't a huge fan. Like, I enjoyed, like, the beginning of it, but...
Yeah.
The super vortexy, like, you're not allowed to jump ever because you're going to get DP FADC 50%, type stuff was there. And I realized the reason I like Third Strike so much is because I enjoy the games that give you freedom of movement. And Third Strike gives you that if you learn how to parry.
Right. That's a huge variable in terms of, like, how the game is going to play out.
Yeah.
And it's a universal mechanic. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing. When Marvel first came out, because Street Fighter 4 came out, and then obviously it was quickly followed up by Marvel 3, which is where, I don't even know, like, what numbers you had at that stage. I mean, obviously you're huge now.
Marvel 3, I was at, like, less than probably 5,000 to 6,000 subs on YouTube.
Isn't that as insane?
It's 2011,
to think about somebody with 1 million, 1.2 million now, right?
That was the beginning of it, yeah. And I was making a lot of fighting game videos ahead of time, just like arcade footage of, filming stuff at arcades and with friends. But, where it was actually like, I really enjoy this game. I'm going to make online videos about it. And then what's the next thing I could do? I'll try that. Next thing I could try that. Next thing I could, and that was just the beginning of it. And that was because I had already learned how to edit video from Street Fighter 4.
I actually want to rewind a little bit so we can have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I whenever I'm going to interview somebody, I always shoot a text out to people that I trust. And I'm like, what would you ask this person? Because I'm always interested in case there's something I would miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wrote back to me jokingly. They were like, how do you get to 1 million subs? Right? And obviously that's not my question. But how did you feel when you hit 1 million subs?
Incredibly good. Just because it was an impossible goal. You know, it was something that a few years back, it just never seemed like it was ever going to happen.
Really?
And that's because it was like, has fighting game interest peaked? Have I like sort of maximized the potential of this audience? Is there it can only go so far? Can you only appeal to like 25 to 40-year-old like males or females?
Well, that's the other thing. People aging out. We have to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, and that's actually I think once I harmonize that and realize that, like, you know what, I don't think I need to try to appeal towards the wider demographic. I'm going to focus on just the ones that are around right now.
Okay.
And I had that around 500,000, where my goal was no longer to try to expand. Okay. It was just to make the existing fan base or the existing subscriber base between Twitch and YouTube happy. Just to make them...
Oh, that was your goal?
That was the goal. Okay. So the goal was no longer like my big goal, and kind of like the main thing was just to see growth, to see like people consistently coming back. And funny enough, when I stopped focusing on that and just was having as much fun with the things that I knew that people that have been hanging around would like, I grew another 500,000 way faster, like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So it took like 7 years to get to 500K-ish.
Okay.
And then like 2 years to get the rest.
Okay.
So, and now it's just been like, I hit like 1 million earlier this year, like in March or something, and now we're at 1.2. So and I think it's just like...
It gets exponential for sure.
It does. And it's like one of those things where the audience and the platform changes, and what people expect changes like rapidly. And where we're at now and what people want to see is way different than, you know, what I was doing back in 2011, much less 2012 to 2014. And
right.
And that's a big part of it, is just recognizing that trend and being like...
I was going to talk to you about that, the evolution of your content, because obviously you put a lot of work into Assist Me, and it probably was, you know, for you now, it's probably like way too much work. I don't know, but it's probably way too much work. You know, like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Whereas when you're a smaller YouTuber, obviously, like it's like, well, this can get me some serious attention, which
and it did. Yeah. And that's what I still value about it. But I mean, what you say is partially true, because it is so time consuming. Like the last big thing we did was the Alien movie when Mortal Kombat X came out. And that was a film that ended up being 50 minutes. It was a live action movie for like Twitch, and then made to YouTube later, of an Alien tutorial on Mortal Kombat. But the gimmick was that between a few movies we've done before, it's live, but people don't know what's live. So when they're watching, I have pre-recorded segments and live segments. So it's like we're doing a stage play.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're really well received. We've done like 3 of them in total. Mm-hmm. But it took 6 months.
Right.
It took like 4 months of active shooting, 2 months of planning, and then 3 months of shooting, 2 months of planning, and a full month in editing. Like, it took a long time. So I loved it, and it's like a super passion project. But the idea now, since then, only for passion projects. Like, we're not going to do it because we have to.
Right.
We're going to do it if something just is like a great idea. And the last one we did was 2017 when Injustice 2 came out, and it was an Injustice 2 Assist Me. And the gimmick was that Wesker and Doom were waiting for Marvel Infinite, and it wasn't out yet. And they were waiting for their characters to be in as well.
Yeah.
But Injustice 2 was out, so I'm like, you guys got to go away. This is DC. It's like, not you. And they're like, all right. So
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And then they dress up as Batman.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
So it's like Doom, Batman, Wesker. So I'm like, oh man, the idea of who's the better Batman, but they're Dr. Doom Batman and Wesker Batman. I'm like, I love that idea. So I'm immediately writing this. Like, we're gonna make this work. So, and that was the idea. It's like, I just had a really clever idea for it. We had some ideas for Dragon Ball, but they just weren't like good enough. Like, nothing was clever enough. The hook wasn't what people would enjoy. And I know people just wanted like a tutorial. I just want a tutorial just to know what the hell to do, and because a lot of people find value in that. But for me, it's like, if everything isn't gelling together, I just don't have. This is going to take me so much time. Like I'm going to get halfway through it and never finish it.
What was some of the biggest? I have so many questions, but a lot of them are just for me. And that's actually how most of my interviews are, to be honest. Because a lot of those people out there are in many ways are like, like me, like either a content creator, or everyone's a content creator these days, or wants to get better at fighting games,
sure.
or what have you. But was there any like big aha moments when you were, when you first started to expand when you were smaller? Because you keep saying we, right? So I in my head I'm like, yeah, of course he probably has a team and everything. Like, was there a point when I became we?
Yeah, well, I'd say the Assist Me series in general was that, because there was like, it wasn't just me anymore. There was people behind the camera. There was people that were helping me with writing and costuming and everything like that.
Right.
So it was like me and 3 to 4 other people that were sort of like that were like figuring it out. And those 4 other people were people that are either in the show or behind camera. So everything about the show and its evolution was, I was doing all the editing and the special effects and like the writing and the planning and the producing and the directing, and we had other people behind camera helping out, because I had no idea how that stuff worked at the time, like how any of this worked. We're talking like DSLRs like circa 2011, so it was Wild West. But people that were in the show were also costumers. People that were in the show were also helping me out on writing. So it was like, a solid like 4 to 5 people that helped me the whole time. And it got super complicated and sometimes like way too big, and some things that would actually threaten certain aspects of the show. Like we got kicked out of our apartment because it was too big in Santa Monica. So that was the part where it became we. But for me personally, like a lot of the content that was leading up to that was like an aha type of moment, I guess, would be when Marvel 3 first came out. I made like a cheesy like music video for Marvel, and that went over really well. And when you see people
that
watching,
surprised you?
I know, of course, yeah. In any situation, you see a bunch of people watching, you're like, oh shit, well, I'll do it again. Yeah. And at the time, I was like working in a producer's job for like an online game, and it was great, and it was a good job. But I remember looking at this like viewership on YouTube, and I was getting contacted by like other channel network things that sort of existed 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't make money off YouTube or internet videos. Like, that doesn't exist. Like, that's just like, they just try to reap you. It doesn't really work that way. And they still do.
Yeah.
But eventually I just took one, and it made I was earning nothing. Like, I think I earned $80 over like 7 months of making videos.
Yeah.
But I was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So that by the time I had been laid off from my job, because they literally got rid of the American division. And I was like, oh God. And that was 2011, so a lot of people were losing their jobs. Capcom contacted me, Seth Killian contacted me, and he was like, we want you to do tutorials, like official tutorials for Marvel 3. And that was like the first gig that I had ever, like, actual, like, big gig. Because I was in contact with the Capcom guys here and there.
Seth was so good.
Dude, I got a great story. I went back and I tried to find the email, but it's sadly gone, but I won't forget it. Because this was the first time that Capcom had actually worked with anyone in the community officially. Yeah. And
maybe the last time.
No, there's been a bunch.
Okay.
And his literal words in the email were like, we haven't done anything like this before. I had to convince a lot of people that this is okay. Yeah. Don't fuck this up.
Oh, great.
That's fun. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna screw this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of was like the beginning of the landscape where a lot of community things would change, and they got a bunch of other like community content creators. Like they got Rip and MYK, who are Tekken guys, to do tutorials for Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and I did some stuff for Cross Tekken.
Yeah.
And it was it was like the beginning, so that was neat that actually boosted opportunities for some other people, as well as Capcom sort of like branching out, because there was very much for a very long time like Capcom does not do anything official with Street Fighter.
Yeah.
You run that shit, we just ignore it.
Yeah.
And that was like until, Capcom Cup sort of began in Street Fighter 15th to 25th anniversary, whatever it was, like when they had those like official tournaments, then it started changing. Like right when Combo Fiend jumped on.
So sorry, go on.
I'm just saying that was like the very, very beginning part before like I had like a team, and the Assist Me part was the team, but everything that was on my channel personally that I can attest to, like the growth where people are like, why do you have 1 million subs? How do you get 1 million subs? Identifying that this big expensive show that costs a lot of money and doesn't make a lot of money isn't going to be how I can even sustain myself.
Yeah.
it was through daily videos, making videos every single day about me either playing games online, and that was mostly responsibility of like Excellent Adventures, that just like, hey, riffing and having fun and playing fighting games online is an entertaining thing to watch. And I'd even watched other Street Fighter channels do that with, you know, relative success leading up, including a guy named Lance who'd made SF4 videos with his Bison. He was just talking and like filming the screen. And that was an influence. I'm like, well, people seem to like this, so I'll try it. And I did it with Soul Calibur, and then I did it with some other games, and did some testing of just whatever titles would work. And yeah, if it wasn't for the constant diligence of trying to get 2 videos up a day, and then a big ass like assist me thing. And it was even more. It was even more. It was honestly around the time like 3 videos a day.
How do you even do that?
It would, well,
like, I mean, let's talk about that, right? Because Sayjam says it as well, right? So when I used to, not used to, but when I talk to Sayjam, it's usually at a smaller tournament when he has time, right? And I love chatting to him, and I realised like how young he is, but also how mature he is for his age, right? And how strong his grind is, right? And then he talks about you in the same light, and I'm like, well, wait, I already know that you grind hard. Like, what is Max doing? That you are so like you're so, because Sayjam's like, when he talks about your grind, it's like you guys don't even understand. So what is it? You don't sleep? Like what?
No, I mean, I definitely sleep. It was just during those years, like the 2012 to I'd say maybe 2015, 2016. She can attest because my wife is just off screen right now. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication. You have to love the shit out of it. And there would be moments where I can't even think of my life not having to worry about like getting some sort of daily thing up. Like, that's just been, it's so ingrained into my head. I've been doing it for like 8 years now that it's just a part of me. So it's not exactly a situation where you look ahead and you're like, oh my God, I have to make like 2 videos a day, 365 days a year. I have to make like
definitely don't want to think about that.
You can't, like, I can never do that. And especially with Assist Me, something that I know is going to take me like 100 to 150 hours to get just one video out. I take it like one step at a time.
Yeah.
Like, just like, I need to get this VFX shot. Got to learn how to do that. Learn how to do the visual effects. This scene's coming through bad in editing. We're going to have to go back and reshoot this. Just get this done like piece by piece. And that actually ends up making it difficult for a lot of people because I do a lot of stuff sequentially. When we shot things where it's like, we don't have storyboards. It's all in my head.
Oh, you don't? You really?
It's all in my head.
You gotta be kidding
me.
So
I'm like editing live in my head, and I'm like,
how are people working with you like that?
It's probably not easy.
I have storyboards for when I do skits on my own.
Yeah. I did for the very first Assist Me with like Dr. Doom. I absolutely had storyboards. But it wasn't even with Doom, it was with Wesker. Like, Wesker was the first idea.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a Wesker.
And it's just all in your head.
And it was just
all
everyone
around you is just like, fine, we'll work with that.
So I'm just like, get this shot, change the camera over here, get coverage.
And it's all sequential.
I try to keep it sequential so I can have an idea of like when I'm editing it live. The same thing would also boil down to fight scenes, where we would just film a fight scene sequentially. And there's no choreography. We have to figure it out live. So we have to like make our fight scenes very gimmicky and fun, and like stupid shit. Stupid shit has to happen to make things like to make the story progress.
Wow, you're blowing my mind away. That's crazy.
But it was definitely rough. Like, we'd have our first few that are obviously not polished in any way at all.
Yeah.
But every single time we got to a new thing, it got better and it got easier, and sometimes it got harder because we got new ideas and like, I think I can try this now. And then the big one eventually was the big boiling plate was the Alien movie, which was just a combination of every damn thing that I had learned over so many years. And then the Injustice Batman, which was the last big filming thing we did. We did it in a day. I edited it in like a day.
Okay.
And it was like, because I had figured, keep it simpler, keep it less people, try to make it as focused as possible so I don't have to worry about this thing taking forever to get done, and just make it about a fun gimmick, which is what the entire show started with, like Dr. Doom sleeping over at your house. And that's kind of the thing I want to carry forward whenever we do tackle new Assist Me stuff. This is a part of the big idea for Marvel Infinite before that went total
That's
ass
right,
up.
You were going to do more Assist Me, right?
Had a bunch of plans.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of scripts, had a bunch of ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, scripts.
There's not. when suddenly it looked like the X-Men weren't going to be in the game, a lot of our scripts were completely irrelevant. Because it was seeming that, like, oh, we just have to wait for everyone to come back, right? Nobody came back.
So you didn't know? I mean, I know it sounds weird, right? Not weird, but to me, I always think Max probably has a finger in, he probably knows a little bit here and there.
I can tell you that I'd spoken to the same people that I'd worked with Assist Me on at Capcom at the time.
Yeah.
In 2016 when the game was revealed, because everyone was asking him, like, where's the X-Men? Is Doctor Doom going to come back? Everyone was asking them. And they pretty much said, like, don't worry, like, we haven't forgot about those characters.
Oh, that's what they said?
So,
wow.
Well, flash forward to 2019, it's revealed that there was going to be 61 approximate characters in the game.
Right.
So they were going to be, it's just that they pulled the plug early.
Okay.
It just didn't do well enough for them.
I mean, because now they own it. Like, it could have happened.
It could have happened, yeah.
If Chun-Li didn't have eyebrows like this big.
If the game didn't visually look like a bad version of Contest of Champions, like, yeah, it could have been better. But we had a lot of plans, and that sort of, like, that whole year, like, burned the hell out of me, man. It was like everyone's mad at you for being critical of the game, but also liking it, like liking certain aspects of Marvel Infinite. I'd go on record, and I still will, that I think Marvel Infinite is the best playing Capcom game since CVS2. And
I remember, so when I was at E3 for that as well, when it all blew up, right, the shill thing, and L.I. Joe was there. I saw him this morning actually, and we had this conversation. He was there, and he wasn't invited by anybody to be.
Well, I know, that, right? Yeah. If we're talking about the shilling of 2017, I know all those guys weren't paid.
Well, no, it's not that. I'm just saying that Joe was like on the outside. Like he was totally on the outside, right? Like he wasn't like he was trying to get into E3 at the last minute. They invited him in. He played it. He came up to me, and he said, "I've told this story before, but he said, this game's really good. This game is really, really good." Yeah. And there was nothing going on there. It wasn't like I had him on camera or any of that stuff. He was just played it and was like, "This game is good." And he's one of those guys who picks up games really quickly and understands them really quickly. And I knew immediately, regardless of all this other crap that's going on in social media, I knew that the game itself must be good. And when I played it, I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't playing it at his level. And I knew it must be good. And then I could see you like trying to explain to people.
I still gush about the game too, and I still get people that are like, "You're just lying and you're just being paid."
Right.
It's crazy.
I remember those videos were painful for me to watch because like I could see the pain you were going through because like I knew that you knew the game was good, and I'm not even a Marvel fan, but I knew you knew the game was good.
You have to specify the gameplay.
Right.
You have to be super specific when it comes to
because
Infinite.
Everyone was ready to just.
And you know what? And I actually say deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not even that. It's not even that I think people responded incorrectly. I think people did respond correctly for what they did on certain aspects.
Yeah.
But not the gameplay.
Yeah.
If we're talking about how the game plays, it's not God's gift to fighting games. Like I still have several gripes with several things of the way Marvel Infinite works. Like right off the bat, I think a lot of the stones kind of suck and they're not great.
Yeah.
A character would be better. I think doing super and then tagging and then mixing you up like great sucks. And I think things should have been limited, but that tag system is like, you guys did it. Like, oh my god, I'm always playing this game. Like I'm never like completely botched in like block string hell, or I'm eating combos for days, or am I doing that to them? Like we're always playing the game. Like that's not easy, and they designed a system to do it. So it was, and I'm more comfortable now being like an avid Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite supporter and fan, because the game's gone. Like it's been gone for a long time. But the funny thing is, people still talk about it. It's not like as much a Street Fighter Cross Tekken situation where that game was relatively forgotten, like by 2013 when the update came out.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because everybody who did like it at that point was like, this game's amazing now.
A lot of people really, I'll agree with them. I like Cross Tekken a lot when I was playing it. I go back and I jump into SFXT now. It's a clunky goddamn game.
Right. Like
you jump back, your characters are like stiff and weird, and it feels just like a really chunky version of Street Fighter 4. So I get that there's hardcore audiences for every single fighting game.
Yeah, there is.
Cross Tekken's gonna have it. Marvel Infinite's gonna have its as well. It's just that MVCI didn't even get a chance. Like,
no, it didn't. And that's the thing, though. I mean, like, you have to, when you launch something, you have to have quality control. Like, I mean, hopefully it's been learned. The lesson has been learned. It's just a shame that it had to be learned on the game that you were excited for, and the game where they were working with Marvel, and it's like, well, do you get that chance again or no?
Yeah, and that's the big outlying question now, which is why there's so much talk about Marvel versus Capcom now, because everyone's like now wondering, is there going to be an announcement? Are they going to do anything? And the chance is so low of it actually happening, but there's a lot of hope, and that's why I was saying where we're at right now is just like lingering hope from that very sad side of the community.
Would you be, I don't want to say happy, but if they went down the route of a Capcom All-Stars in a Marvel style,
absolutely,
you play that?
Absolutely. That's what I want instead.
And I remember, Combo Fiend at one point, talked about functions and it became like a meme. But I know, I said this in the Justin interview, I know what he was trying to do with the limitations that he had.
Yeah.
And which was he was trying to do a good thing, which he was trying to say, look, all right, you don't have this character, but I'm going to give this character these moves. And
I understood exactly what was happening and what was being said. It was just that it wasn't going to come out well.
It was it was always never going to come out. It was always going to be unfortunate.
The best situation is that he could have been like, we know you guys want characters. We're going to do our best to make those characters happen. Like, you have to get so general about it. But
hard,
he might not have been able to even say that.
Right,
so
right.
The next best is that Marvel's not letting us put anything in here. Like, we're going to have to wait for DLC maybe way down the line.
Yeah,
we know you guys want them, so we put the best we could in there right now. They function just the same. Like, it's like, you get it. It's just
a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, it's like suddenly the pill has become a loaf of bread, and it's like, no, that's not going down, buddy. So that's what, and everyone else that's actually like, casually purchasing the games, the greater 90% of people that will actually buy the fighting games.
What do you think
stings the most?
What do you think, Mark? Like in terms of like the next if, and it is kind of a big if. A lot of people give me shit for that when I say it, but it's not because I don't want it to happen. But if Capcom releases another fighting game, like which one? What game does it have to be? Do you think to capture the public's imagination?
Well, I mean, Street Fighter, so that's going to continue. Like,
right, but that needs a hook.
Yeah, it does, and that's why I was saying, like, the hook for Street Fighter has usually been visuals, and it should either go like, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 2 remake, hyper realistic but cool looking characters, or hyper anime Street Fighter Alpha, and that's your hook. Like, that's your immediate visual hook. That oh wow, this looks crazy and different. It does not look like Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4.
Okay,
like it has a different visual appeal.
Okay, it's got to look fun,
and it's got to look fun.
Yeah.
Like it. I don't know. It's like, I feel that you need a sort of universal mechanic like the parry that is fun and gimmicky and leads up to exciting situations.
Okay.
Like Tekken sort of did that with visual presentation because they added the slow-mo stuff.
It's also, I mean, Tekken's reached that point where it's just getting so beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Like, because I was never a 3D guy because I was like, what are these blocky characters? When I could be playing Street Fighter, which in 1992, and it still looks good.
Yeah. And Tekken is even a visually good-looking game, and to be critical of it, it's crazy that it keeps getting bigger and bigger because the number one mobility aspect of the game, between Korean backdashing and forward dash canceling, makes the characters look jank as hell. like, completely honest, I love it. I think I see the expertise in there, but it like literally breaks the animation of the game for the sake of skill.
But I think it goes back to viewership.
But that's the thing.
Because I think... Well, let me just jump in here because... And you can disagree with me if you want. But one of the things I think people like to see, right? Because I do believe there are viewers, right? Not just players. Everyone says to me, it's all just players. And I'm like, no, I think there's viewers.
No, there's viewers, absolutely. I can tell you, as someone with 1.2 million
right.
fighting game subs, there are people that love fighting games that just don't like playing them.
Because... I've always looked at fighting games and gone, well, this should be the easiest one to understand. There's 2 health bars, there's 2 guys fighting, right? And the most relatable ones, this is the thing I was going to say to you, is Tekken is extraordinarily relatable to people because it looks like a fight.
Yeah.
Like, it's two people punching the hell out of each other, right?
The intensity of the fights is better than it ever has been in the series.
Right.
Like, of actually keeping the players engaged. They introduced a very casual mechanic, but didn't ruin the experience by its implementation, which is Rage Drive Rage Art. Done in a smart way. Like, done in a way where there's obviously risk rewards for it. There's obviously like a moment of tension now that the person has it, and that hasn't been in Tekken before. So
that's true.
I mean, Tekken had like rage in the previous games, but this was different. Like, now you got something that does a holy crap ton of damage. So, but it was implemented well. It was implemented like they can be sidestepped, they can be avoided, they can be, you know, they can be beaten by other things. You can still take damage when you're in them. So you can, they do this big cinematic and you get kicked the hell out of it. Like, it's still, it was done in a way that didn't seem like overwhelmingly, oh, people are bad at our game, we need to give them this tool that is so good that'll give them a chance to beat people that are good.
Yeah, it's not too much.
It's not that. Yeah. It's really not that.
What I do want to get back to, because we could talk forever, is I want to get back to content creation. If you've still got time.
Yeah.
Hello. This is the end of the video. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you again to R Street Fighter and everybody who nominated, voted, and contributed funds to get myself, Just Power, and Marine to EVO. I also wanted to thank my patrons who are on screen now. There's a lot of you. I wanted to shout out, obviously, my biggest backers, Nathan Duncan, Terrence Harris, You Ain't Jeff, and Steven Sense. Thank you very much. Twitch subscribers, you also make a huge difference, but you get shout outs on stream. I'll be live on stream later today, actually. Check the links and details in the description below or the pinned tweet. Most likely 6 PM Eastern Time. Come hang out. I'd love to talk to you people. And look out for the rest of my interviews over the coming week. See you guys.